born, go to school, and get shot in the school. Die in the school, die on the streets. No. That is what they say.
I'm not going to say anything, but you've gone over the cliff.
I move to strike his
I'm not going
words.
over the cliff.
Wait, you've gone over. We were going to be quiet, but you've gone over now.
You didn't use any.
I meant every word.
We are going to strike your words. But on the other hand, it might be good to leave your words. It might be good to leave your words. Because that's how you feel. But you are not going to come into this room and impugn our integrity. You will not. We are pro-life people from conception to natural death. Most of us are. And don't you come in here and say, we want to preserve life so people can get shot.
That's what I've seen. This is truly, I believe, an evil bill that should never become law. The single largest transfer of wealth from the working poor and the working class to the ultra-rich, billionaires and mega corporations in this nation's history. And I don't understand why anyone would vote for it, at least anyone that's read it. And of course, after this passed the House last time, a few Republican members came out to admit that they didn't read the full bill. Well, I did, and this list of unacceptable policies I think are important to bring up, things that we should definitely strike. I mean, this bill is big and is evil, taking away healthcare coverage from nearly 17 million people, 11.8 million people who would lose their care due to cuts on Medicaid, approximately 5 million people who would lose their care due to Republicans sabotaging the Affordable Care Act. And in Florida alone, more than 1.9 million people could lose their health care. Children eligible for the Children's Health Insurance Program, CHIP, will be out of coverage and have annual and lifetime limits set on their care. Organizations Planned Parenthood is defunded, leaving many people with nowhere to go for cancer screenings and prenatal care. Hundreds of billions of dollars will be cut from Medicare, reducing access to care for seniors. States will be stripped of the ability to raise funding to provide health care to their lowest income residents. Hospitals and nursing homes will be closed, especially those in rural and underserved communities. In fact, studies show 1 in 4 nursing homes will be forced to shut down. Nursing homes will be less safe by dramatically reducing staffing and safety standards by closing 338 rural hospitals and 579 nursing homes. Co-pays for people on Medicaid will increase. Those able to stay on the marketplace coverage would see annual premiums nearly double to $1,300 or $3,000 for families. Monthly health insurance premiums for millions of families will spike by failing to extend the ACA enhanced premium tax credits that expire at the end of 2025, and as a result, 4.2 million more Americans will become uninsured. The Thrifty Food Plan, which helps people on tight budgets eat healthy, will shrink. Free school meals that are jeopardized by threatening SNAP eligibility for millions of children, literally taking the food out of children's mouths in schools. Food banks will be further strained, and they're already at a breaking point. Millions would lose their SNAP benefits, single mothers and families trying to feed themselves and their children. Grocery costs could rise for 40 million Americans. Energy bills will increase by up to $400 per year for families across the country and 10% for businesses. This puts nearly 400,000 jobs at risk. It can push mortgages to increase by more than $1,000 a year and small business loans by more than $800 a year. Taxes will increase for nearly 100 million families who pay an average of $1,000 or more a year. Meanwhile, the top 0.1, not 1%, the top 0.1%, the billionaires, will gain $309,000 in 2027 alone. That's $847 a day. Certain clean energy tax credits from the Inflation Reduction Act will end, which reverses progress on combating the climate crisis and climate change. The climate collapse will be sped up by requiring a minimum of 4 oil and gas leases each year in each of the 9 western states. Support for our national parks and other federal recreation land will be cut. A permanent unlimited tax credit for private school vouchers will be created, and this tax credit would give private schools 2 to 3 times the tax benefit of other nonprofit organizations such as houses of worship, veterans groups, and homeless shelters, literally taking food from our public education system and putting it in the hands of the private system. Borrowers, student loan borrowers' ability to pause student loan payments when experiencing unemployment or financial hardships will end. Monthly student loan payments will be even more expensive for borrowers due to eliminating the SAVE plan and replacing all income-driven repayment plans with a new, more expensive repayment assistant plan. The Consumer Financial Protections Bureau will be dramatically slashed by capping the amount of money from 6.5% down to 12%, making it easier for banks and creditors and other huge corporations to rip off our people. And there's so much more in this bill that harms our constituents, that harms people across this country. I urge people to read the bill and vote no on it. And I do have to bring up one thing, because Representative Hank Johnson earlier brought up some Bible verses about taking care of each other and the poor. And Madam Chair, you looked at him and said, you read those verses, which is great that you read them. I read them too. James 2:26 says, faith without works is dead. So we can read the Bible verses all you want, but until you stand up for the health care of people, the poor, the people in our communities, those works are dead. I yield back. No one on the Democratic side is advocating for anything crazy or radical. We want common sense gun reform that most Democrats, most Republicans, and most NRA members want. But it just goes to show you that organizations like the NRA don't even represent daily gun owners. They represent daily gun manufacturers and the people who sell the guns. They have no problems with more people dying as long as they can sell more guns. And if we want to talk about a safe America, over the last 3 years, because of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act passed by Democrats, signed by Joe Biden, and the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, in the last 3 years, gun violence has gone down more than it has in our country's history. Cities of over 1 million people, gun violence has gone down 40%. This year, we're on track to have a reduction of 20% from last year. So we know that these solutions work, while of course respecting the rights of people, but also protecting the most sacred right, which is the right to live, the ability to walk down our blocks, go to our churches, our synagogues, our schools, our temples, everywhere, and not fear being shot. And this false notion that you gotta pick one, you gotta either be for the Constitution or you're okay with people dying. I mean, it's just false. We are for rights, but we're also for making sure that the right to live is preserved. And that's been the fight of my life. That's why I came to Congress. And that's why I'm proud to be a Democrat and oppose this horrible bill.
Thank you. And I think that the theme that we are seeing is, you said it, a right to life versus their desire for profit. You just described that, and in this bill, that's what we see over and over again. The right to life, because you need the health insurance, versus the right for profit. I wanted to ask Representative Frost a question about what we're hearing here, because I think it's important to bring the other perspective of what is it like to have been a victim and to have lived through and counseled and worked with so many other victims of gun violence, because they never acknowledge the number of people who are killed on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, utilizing guns often secured by those who should not be holding them.
Yeah, I mean, I got involved in politics when I was 15 years old because I didn't want to get shot in my school. There was a Sandy Hook shooting that pushed me into this work. 3 years later, a gunman walked into Pulse nightclub a mile away from where I was working and murdered 49 people and injured another 49. He didn't like them because they were gay and Latino. 3 months after that, I survived an instance of gun violence in downtown Orlando on Halloween of 2016. Hundreds of us running away from the gunfire. And that's after I had been involved in this work for 3.5 years. You never think it's going to hit you home, and then it hits your home. And then it hits the block you're on. 2 years ago, at the scene of 400 violent crimes, silencers were found. I just think it's despicable that the gun industry, the gun lobby, wants to push forth amendments like this that would result in more people dying just so they can sell more guns.